Were the Nazis socialist? Well, if we dissect the acronym NSDAP, we will find out that of course they were. How could this become a far-right extremist thing to say? Because academia concerned with human studies, mainly historicism and political philosophy, is left-wing infested. Although I don't like the words left and right, this is pretty much what's going on. So in this video I'm gonna give you some honestly blatantly obvious reasons why Nazis were socialist and how modern intellectuals inclined to socialism are perpetuating intellectually dishonest grift. So National Socialism, a branch of, let's say it together, Fascism. That's right guys. Correct statement, including the big bad word, like and subscribe. But seriously now, according to this, we can prove that National Socialism is socialist. Still funny. If fascism is also socialist, so is fascism socialist? Well, fascism was invented by Benito Mussolini. If there is something to know about Mussolini, is that he was a terrible person, brute, womanizer / predator, and a socialist. That's right, before Mussolini's political career even began, he already was a vocal voice in socialist and syndicalist circles. Well, actually, yes, I give you that, he later cut ties with other socialists, but if, for example, I would cut ties with libertarians, I won't do a 180 and suddenly turn communist. I would start my own branch, and that's what Mussolini did. You see, before World War I, socialist movements were all internazionale, but then, suddenly, everyone wanted to kill each other on the merit of tricolor they were born under. Autistic socialists were baffled by this, and they keep whining till this day. Opportunistic socialists, on the other hand, wanted to throw young men head-on to the meat grinder. They were the successful ones, and the same went for Mussolini. He realized Italy not being involved in World War I is a bug and not a feature, so he advocated for Italy to join. That was basically the reason why he departed from his socialist roots. He wanted to get grip on the large but fractured voting base, low-class disillusioned young men, in this case war veterans, and realized the glue was nationalism. He was essentially what populists are now. Needless to say, his economic views don't differ from socialist ones after the foundation of National Fascist Party. And this is the point early fascists got themselves, an oddly viable position. When situation in Europe calmed down, extreme branches of Marxism like communism and anarchism were collectively frowned upon. You had Soviet Union, in that time the most aggressive state. You had many failed states like Hungarian Soviet Republic and even armed rebellion like Bavarian Soviet Republic, getting us back to Germany. Like the rampage of communists in that short period was what gave early fascist ammunition. For being just slightly less violent, they accumulated as much power and also become the lesser evil for the moderate political parties. Just see German elections in 1930 and 1932. Nazi being vocally against communists basically earned them trust of the public. It escalated into such a manner that during voting on the enabling law in 1933, communists were straight up banned from elaborating, making the whole taking charge deal for the Nazis much easier. Leftists like to pretend that this is the reason why Nazis were not true socialists, that they abolished labor unions and that kind of crap, but that's not true. They didn't abolish trade unions, they replaced them with their own. The economic model Nazis went by was pretty much collectivist in nature. One can even make a point that having an option of an enabling law is in a way a socialist policy, but I'm not getting into that discussion right now. To accuse that Nazis were founded by capitalists, I can only say, and I don't want to sound dismissive, but what kind of investment is investing into an anti-systematic party? How exactly can these capitalists generate capital by this kind of means? This idea that shadow government of capitalists founded the Nazis to eliminate the communist threat is outright a conspiracy theory and ironically showcases the effectiveness of the Nazi propaganda. The fact that biased historians are willing to believe this shows that Nazis successfully gaslighted the public into thinking that they are the alternative, and definitely not the same shit. Political parties get founded by individuals for all varieties of reasons. In this particular case, we can even point the exact reason what caused some people to found the Nazi party. After the German loss in World War I, there was a need for finding an explanation for the loss, and there was one very popular theory Nazis and many other people subscribed to, theory of dagger in the back. What I'm trying to say is that backbone of Nazi voting base, an anti-Semite party, were, well, anti-Semites. The truth is, rich people don't always found parties because they try to lobby. In case of post-World War I Germany, it was the result of successful plunder towards the prideful, defeated military class. Anyone who says otherwise should be introduced to Occam's razor, XD, that unironically sounded like a threat. No pun intended. So why academia is seemingly against this notion when all the evidence points that, yeah, fascists were also socialist? Well, it's quite simple really. After the truth about Nazi war crimes went out, there was an understandable distaste for anything related to National Socialism. Socialists realized this. In order to clean their hands, they started to rewrite history so they couldn't be linked to Nazism. Even though, if you follow socialism to its logical conclusion, you end up with a totalitarian state, but I digress. So we have the motive. Now, how the grift is pulled on. You remember those autistic socialists who I mentioned before? Yeah, they claiming victimhood. They tried to use the fact that socialists were also persecuted by fascist regimes, hence fascism can't be socialist. This is like claiming Putin is not nationalist because he persecutes other nationalist and chauvinist groups, not seeing the obvious truth that totalitarian regimes persecute any kind of opposition in general. I already speak my mind about distaste for using left and right. In my opinion, these are empty words, so I won't try to prove you that Nazism is left or right wing. What I'm trying to make clear in this video is that they in fact were socialist, among many other things. I don't even try to tell you that socialism is inherently bad. Well, I myself believe that, but that's besides the point. What simply happened was there was a branch of socialists who went hyper-nationalist and militarist and started the war, made bunch of war crimes, they lost the war, they got wiped out, and now they're left and right-wing intellectuals playing ping-pong between themselves, obscuring clearly defined definitions and objective truths. Okay, this video was made because I originally planned a big video about Freda, but then I realized there's just too much lies the guy spits, and going through all of his videos during the editing was just pain for my brain, so I decided to make a short video dissecting the main grift Freda and similar people like him perpetuate. The fact is that history is nothing more than a series of events, so there exists an objective truth what happened. The Nazis were elected democratically. Call this red pill content, rationalize it all you want, but this is what happened. What matters is how you deal with this information. You can either try to whitewash history for an obvious bias, like here fellow cathedralites like to do, or you can accept the truth and use it for your own advantage. Thanks for watching, this is the end of the video.